Hello everyone. Today I want to show you an app I realized to remote control the S16 audio device by Behringer with a PC. You probably will know that it's no problem to remote this S16 unit when using it together with a X32 mixer deck. Then you are going to connect both units with a network cable transporting AES-50 data, and with AES-50 data between these units you can transport the audio as well as the remote data. So it's no problem to switch phantom power on and off and to adjust the gain of the preamps of the S16 with your mixer deck. From time to time I'm using the S16 in the standalone operation to record without my X32 mixer. And when doing this, for connecting the S16 to my PC, I use a device by Tech, which is the DN9630, which works very good in the audio domain, but unfortunately it is not able to remote control the S16 because Tech does not support MIDI over this device so far. I asked Tech about that issue and they told me no, it's correct. Our device is not able to do this at this moment. We are going to pass this demand to our software development unit. In other words, there will be no solution within a reasonable time. So I thought about finding another solution, and that's what I did. Of course, you have to find a connection for the MIDI remote between your PC and the S16. And there are more or less two possible solutions to that. First of all, you could run cables between your PC and the S16, which was not very nice because to run 3 cables instead of 1 is not the idea. Besides this, the MIDI cable length is limited, so this cannot be a real solution. The other possible solution is to use wireless MIDI. I think there are several devices on the market to do this. I choose a product from CME, which is a company located in Singapore, and they developed the VIDI devices. The VIDI jack or VIDI master device you can use with the S16, and the VIDI Bud Pro USB device you can use on the computer side. My first intent was to use only a wireless VIDI device, the external one with my S16, and to use the built-in Bluetooth device of my computer. But that was absolutely not usable because when doing this, first of all, your device in the computer has to support Bluetooth 4.0 or above. On the other hand, when you have these Bluetooth 4.0 or above device in your computer, you have to download another app from Korg to generate MIDI ports on your PC. In my case, nevertheless, I couldn't find these MIDI device ports in my app, and I couldn't find it nowhere. So you have to use as well a small app called MIDI Berry, which is a Windows add-on, which is free of charge, but MIDI Berry only supports one-way communication, and we will need, as you will see a little bit later, two-way communication. So you could use the MIDI Berry VIDI app, which is not free of charge, but all these solutions are not very realistic because you have every time to open these Berry app to act as a bridge for your MIDI device. So I decided to leave that and to buy a MIDI USB device for my PC. And when I did that, it worked from the very beginning. You plug both devices into your computer and into the S16. They are connecting immediately. You're going to have MIDI ports immediately on your computer, and you can work with it. Very good solution. I can recommend this. Although I have to mention, I'm not sponsored by CME, so I bought these units by myself. No one did that for me. I'm only telling you because I'm very satisfied with the solution CME is selling them. So when you did that, oh no, let me mention another thing. On the S16 side, you can use the VD jack as I did, which you can power externally by a small USB charger, or you can power it via MIDI out port of the S16. The S16 is providing power on the MIDI out port, surprising enough. And so you don't have to use the external power supply. You can use the VD jack, the VD master as well, which do not have the possibility of using an external power supply. I decided to use the jack device, which works very well and which has one advantage. It's rather easy to extend with to 2.5 millimeter jack cords to have good or better operation conditions, because the range CME is talking about between two Bluetooth devices is about 20 meters with no obstacles between. But I found out that when you are taking care of bringing the devices, let's say up to 2 or 2.5 meters above ground, if you take care that there are no obstacles between these two units, that there's a clear line of sight, there are no metal obstacles in the near of the units, then you can extend the 20 meters by far. So this seems to be a very good and a reliable solution for connecting the PC and the S16 on the MIDI side, because that's what we are going to do. We're going to remote control the S16 with MIDI messages. So that's to clear up how you have to connect your two devices physically. And now let's talk about the app I developed. You can find the download link below in the description. And when you download the app, you will download a whole folder called Max 8 Remote Control. What is important is that you have to copy this folder into a folder on your drive C, which must be named DA10, which is the German word for data. So when you have done this, and when you copied it to C DA10, it should look like this. You have C DA10 Max 8 Remote Control, and in this folder there are a lot of CSV files, which are the configuration files, and there are two subfolders. And you click on the Remote Control subfolder, and within this folder there is the exe file we are going to execute. We're doing this now. The large window which opens, which is the max runtime, we can close. We don't need this for operation, and we can close this window as well. And that's what we got when we open the app. Maybe you already have seen the upper part of the app, which is nothing less than the level meter app I published some weeks ago. With this upper part, you have the possibility of realizing a multi-channel meter for your audio device. If you want to know more about this part of the app, I recommend to watch my video I published on my channel. That's explained in detail. Also how to use all these buttons over there to change the size of the app and to operate these part of the app. Today I want to talk about the lower one, which is the remote control part, and it's rather easy, as you can expect. Over here I've got the phantom power switches for 16 units of the S16, and down here we have got the gain unit to switch gain of each channel. So when I'm going to switch, let's say phantom power channel 1, you can see it's done in the app, and it's reflected of course at the S16 side, and we can choose some of the channels to switch phantom power on or off, and you see the S16 is going to react. You can doing this simultaneously with all the channels by pressing the phantom power all button over here, switching them off together or on together. Just let's say we're going to switch it like this, just to have a clear situation. On the lower part you can adjust the gain for each channel. So let's look at channel 1 for instance. If I'm going to change it over here, you see it's directly done on the S16 as well. And you can do this of course with all channels together with the gain all switch over here. There's one general problem where I get aware of when realizing this app. There's no real handshake between the S16 and the app. So when I'm going to say, okay, let's switch channel number 2 phantom power on, there's no feedback from the S16 telling me, yes, I saw that message, I did it, here's my answer, I switched the phantom power on. So I have to find a solution to be sure that the status of my app and the status of the S16 are always the same. And I did it with two features. The first feature is that I implemented two-way communication. That will mean if I'm going to change the switch over here, it will be reflected on the S16, and when I'm going to change the switch over here, it will be reflected within the app. As you can see at channel 1 at the moment, we can take another one, channel 2, and so on. The same I realized with the gain control. So when, for instance, for channel 1, I'm going to change the gain at the S16 directly, it's reflected within the app. So we have always the same condition in the app and in the 16. The second feature I realized is that every time you change a parameter, it's instantly stored within the app. And when we are going to close the app, let's remind we have switch on channel 1, 3, 5, 7 and so on, and we can do it perhaps like this so we can remember. We're going to close the app, file, exit, and then someone's going to change our settings manually. So let's switch all of these indications off. And we can change the gain for the first 3 channels as well. So when we are going to start the app again, the last status is restored, and the S16 synchronizes to the app. So we start the app, and immediately you see the status at the S16 is the same as it was when we left the app. This is for the phantom power, and this is of course as well for the gain control. One thing I forgot to mention, but it's very important for the app to work correctly. Before you can remote control the S16 with the app, we have to configure the MIDI ports. I've done that before, so it worked immediately, but of course you have to do it. just go to File, MIDI Setup, and then it is important that you are assigning your MIDI device, which is MIDI Bud Pro in my case, on the input and output side, to abbreviation D. This is important, otherwise the app is not able to work. I chose D because I reserved A, B and C for another app of mine called X-Touch Color, with which you can add color to the scribble strips of your X-Touch device when operating as a DAW controller. So because I want to be able to use both applications simultaneously, I chose D for the remote control application. So even if you don't use A, B and C, you have to assign D. This is important, otherwise the app is not going to work. Another important thing I mentioned already, but I will mention it again. It's very important that you use the path I explained. So it must be the C .10, and then a copy of the whole Max 8 remote control folder in there. Otherwise, the store and read function of the configuration is not going to work. So that's all. I think this is a solution, a good solution via Wi-Fi MIDI, unless perhaps Clarktech is able to realize MIDI control with the DN9630, which I would very appreciate. But until that day, it's a good solution to work with Wi-Fi MIDI that works over large distances. My experiences is I tried it in free air and it was about 150 meters. So I think you have to check inside the location where you're going to do recordings, but I think this is reliable and it's instantly working with the VD devices I told you. So I think this, I hope this is helpful for you as well, and have some fun with this app.